Oh, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. You're watching Rebel Roundup. I'm your host, Sheila Gunn Reid. I'm joined today by my co-host, my real life best friend, who's going to do her best to keep it together on the show today, but I doubt that is a promise that she can actually keep. You're watching Rebel Roundup. This is, as I said, our daily news and opinion show on Wednesdays. It's normally the Buffalo panel, wherein we talk about issues of Western independence, Western autonomy, government overreach, but that is not going to be the case today because we are going to talk about the tragic, although I think largely predictable shooting in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia today. And we've got two guests that we're going to bring on with us, including the young man who broke the story last night, worked into the wee hours to get confirmation of the things that we had already suspected. Olivia, are we taking Rumble rants and YouTube super chats today? Okay, so if you are watching us on Rumble and you've got something to say, you want to support our work, you can leave a Rumble rant. That's their paid chat over there. We ask you for this because we don't take any money from the government to do the work that we do. We would not politically contaminate ourselves that way, but we give you something in return, and that's your say. So if your Rumble rant is over the $5 US cutoff, we'll read it on air. If it's under that, we'll do our best time permitting. We'll try to keep the show to an hour today. We did start late, but we just wanted to make sure that we had the show prepped properly and all of our facts straight and our guests lined up today. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can leave a super chat. That's their paid chat over there, or their paid comment if you missed a live version of the show is called a super thanks. So let's bring on our guests. Besides my beloved real life best friend, Lise Merle, we've got Chris Scott of the Whistle Stop Cafe. He's also an independence activist here in Alberta and someone who paid a high cost for fighting against government overreach. And then we have Cosmin Dzsurdzsa. He's the managing editor over at True North, Juno, and he broke this story after he put his children to bed last night. He worked to find out the truth about what happened to other people's children in Tumbler Ridge, and most of what we know that has been confirmed about the shooter was discovered by Cosmin. So Cosmin, I'm going to let you take the lead here. Tell us everything that you know so far about what happened in Tumbler Ridge. How many people are hurt, how many people are deceased, and what we know about the shooter.
Right. So it was yesterday afternoon that an alert, a active shooter warning went out to communities affected, including Tumbler Ridge, but also surrounding areas. And I caught wind of that because I got an email flagged by the local MLA, Lorne Dorkson, who put out a statement on the unfolding situation, telling everybody to shelter in place and listen to police instructions. So when I saw that, I immediately started looking into this. Now, it took several hours for the RCMP to report casualties. They reported that number to be 10 dead, including the shooter. A number of these casualties were discovered within the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School where the shooting took place. I believe several dozen other people were also injured and sent to the hospital. Two individuals, including a young girl, were taken by a helicopter ambulance to the Vancouver General Hospital, and two other individuals were found deceased at a home linked to this shooting. Now, originally, when the active shooter alert went out and was blasted to local phones and media across that region, the suspect was described as a female wearing a dress with brown hair. And I believe I'm quoting that. Now, if you know anything about BC, I live on Vancouver Island. Here it's quite warm. It was about 10 degrees and sunny yesterday. So somebody in a dress would be, possible. But Tumbler Ridge is located quite far up north, closer to Alberta, and it was about -1 degrees or around 0 degrees Celsius there. So a lot of questions started to emerge about how the police described the suspect. Now, anybody who was paying attention to this unfold saw several names and potential IDs of the suspects circulate on social media. None of these were confirmed by the police. The police were pretty tight-lipped about the identity of the suspect. One name, Jesse Strang, which seemed to be the most plausible match because locals identified one of the victims, Jennifer Strang, as one of the deceased discovered at the residence in Tumbler Ridge. Now, it was based on that information circulating around that I reached out to relatives, close family relatives of Jesse. I reached out to his grandparents, aunts and uncles. And it was his uncle, Russell, who pretty much almost immediately responded to me. And I asked him some pretty straightforward questions because I was really out to just verify the information we were seeing. The first question I asked Russell was, is Jesse the shooter? And Russell said yes. And then I sought to verify, are you Jennifer Strang's brother? And are you Jesse's uncle? And he said yes. Now, I also asked him whether there were any signs leading up to this incident, to this horrible shooting, that may have indicated Jesse would do something like this. He didn't answer that question, and I think that's understandable. But then I followed up by asking, did Jesse identify as transgender or somebody who represents as a different gender? And he said, yes, Jesse was transgender. So when we got the confirmation from his uncle, that is essentially, we were pretty much settled on the fact that this is the suspect. This is the individual who went on this shooting rampage. Now, that is also being broken by CTV, as I just learned before this show started. So the mainstream media has, at least some of them are reporting the suspect's name as well.
So catching up to your work, and you did incredible work last night. I mean, you chased down the family for confirmation, which is what hadn't been done yet. We've got a clip actually of the RCMP spokesperson doing exactly what you referred to, saying that it was a gun person, which was my first red flag, and saying that it was a woman in a dress. Any woman who participates in the firearms sports knows that you wear pants unless it's a costume for you, which was sort of tipped my curiosity here. But this is what was released to the public about what happened.
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay. And then separately, do you know the gun person's relationship to the...
That includes the deceased gun person.
Okay, so that doesn't have the whole thing. We don't have the whole clip there, just saying gun person, but described as a woman in a dress. I'm going to get reaction from Lise and then Chris to what happened in Tumbler Ridge just before we get into more details, because we've got a few more. We've got Drea, who reached out to families whose children were inside the school about the horrors there. And then a clip from Cosmin about CBC's reaction to this. Somehow they shoehorned Trump into it with their derangement. But Lise, you go first.
Well, anybody that's referring to this as a female or a gun person or a person in a dress is beclowning themselves publicly and showing themselves to be completely ideologically captured and on the wrong side of this. Because at the heart of what this actually is an absolutely predictable act of trans madness. That's what happened here. Like, are none of the people that are begging for thoughts and prayers going to ask the question, what could have possibly radicalized this person?
Yep.
What could have possibly radicalized this person? Nobody's gonna talk about that yet. Are we ready to talk about that yet, Canada? Because it took a tragedy to acknowledge the truth in this matter. People have been, this is what we get for protecting transgenderism in our human rights codes. This is what we get for silencing gender critics who said that all of the warning flags are there. This is going to end in disaster. So after destroying families for 10 years, this is what we've got.
Do you know, I was speaking to somebody this morning about this, and frankly, as morbid as it sounds, I'm surprised we haven't had more of this, given how far we are down the gender madness. We see these sorts of shootings in the United States more frequently by the same cast of characters. But I think we are more radicalized as a society down the gender madness rabbit hole. I mean, we saw images of that school with like police walking into the school post shooting event, and you can see the rainbow flags on the side of the school. Maybe we have that, Olivia, if we can bring it up. And we'll just go to Chris here and get Chris's reaction while you find that.
My reaction? We live in a very fast-paced world right now, and I find my reaction to these things goes really quickly. The first thing, of course, is like just that lump in your throat and thinking about how the people that are left behind feel. Like even talking about it it's difficult because, you know, I've got a lot of family, and I've got my family that some of them are in school, and I just think about how that would feel to have that phone call one day. And then, you know, we don't really get much time to grieve because social media explodes, and things start being talked about. But the second thing I felt almost immediately was that suspicion of what we knew. Like, we hear about these things and we know what the outcome is going to be. We know what the details are going to look like. And in this case, it was no different. You know, then I feel really angry, like really angry that people like me, and I'm guilty of this too, have spent so much time worrying about their public, you know, persona or how people are going to react to what they say, that we don't want to talk about the truth. And we live in a world now where the truth is hiding naked in the well, and the lie is running around in the truth's clothes, and people don't want to talk about it because they're so damn scared, you know?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's
There's one video of the cop walking in, and you can sort of, when they pan, you can see the rainbow flags in the school. So this was a very affirming school. So it's almost like being an affirming place doesn't help. It's almost like there's something else at play that we're not supposed to talk about.
Well, what are they affirming, Sheila?
Yeah.
You know, what is it that we're supposed to affirm these days? Are we supposed to affirm the departure from reality into a world where the stuff is just normal?
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what
Everyone
that
is
flag?
welcome here.
Do you know what that flag on schools in Canada means now? Danger. Danger.
Let's go to some of the CBC reaction to this, and Billboard Chris has done some digging on this. So we've got it's from CBC Watcher. Now, I think CBC is finally catching up to the news that Cosmin broke, but CBC Watcher, they say, we know at CBC News that there are people online who are talking about the possible suspect and other details. I wonder why. It's almost like the news should report that sort of stuff. Why don't we show that clip, please?
Also, a note on our coverage of this story today. We know at CBC News that there are people online who are talking about the possible suspect and other details surrounding this case, but this information has not been confirmed to us by either sources or law enforcement, and we want to stick to confirmed details only as we continue to cover this story. And as we learn more, we will certainly bring all of the confirmed information to you. Also, a note on our coverage of this story.
They could have been reaching out to the family like Cosmin did, but that would have revealed some inconvenient facts.
The weight and the funding of the CBC couldn't do what Cosmin did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will add to that, like, it's the job of media, of journalists, to verify information.
Right.
It's not their job to wait for verified information and for the government to tell them, right?
From law enforcement. Why would they wait to hear from law enforcement if they had other avenues? Law enforcement just told us it was a gun person. So that we're just in a circle jerk of verifiable details that nobody can make sense of?
Yeah, absolutely. And the RCMP is a primary source. They're the first responders, right? But they also have to consider and deal with investigation, right? And that limits their ability to disclose information.
Sure.
So in terms of being a reliable source of information, they are a primary source, but they're not the most reliable source, right? There are other
Right.
primary sources in
Right.
incidents like this. There are eyewitnesses, there are family members, there are friends of the shooter. So for them to suggest that, oh, we can't report because the law enforcement isn't telling us who the suspect is really a discredit to their own what they see their job as being. They see their job as being, you know, repeating government information rather than looking for the
Well, that is
information
your
themselves,
job.
informing the public.
Go ahead, Chris.
Oh,
There's an interesting distinction there between the two different types of media, like the state-funded media and the ones that believe in this ideology that leads to these situations. It's almost like they're just panicking and doing everything they can to prevent the information from getting out there because
yes.
it's going to damage their, you know, it's going to damage what they've been promoting. And
The
then there's the
narrative.
other side, the ones that have been screaming from the rooftops, like Billboard Chris and most of the, you know, the new media, not alternative but new media, they've been saying this is dangerous and we gotta stop this. And so you see that different reaction. One is trying to specifically suppress the information and not get people talking about it, and the other side is like it's the complete opposite, and that's where we are today. The divide there is just, I mean, it's not even a divide; it's an impenetrable wall, right?
Right. Yeah,
Here's the other thing.
Sorry, go ahead.
If I may jump in, the other
Please.
thing is I wanted to say, like, I didn't do anything special. I literally just messaged a few people. One of them happened to get back to me. I fully expected none of them would get back to me, but Russell did in this case, Jesse's uncle. And I had a brief conversation confirming the facts that we already knew. So to suggest that the media can't do such a simple task as reaching out to the people directly affected and who knew the suspect is outrageous. And it's as you mentioned earlier, like we're funding this organization to the tune of what, $1.4 billion dollars a year, and somehow they can't do this basic task.
No.
Well, they don't want that. They don't want
Right,
that
they don't want
information,
to. It's
right?
not that they can't. It's not that they can't. They definitely don't want to. And we've got a clip from the CBC, again from CBC Watcher, Hours on CBC, Let's On. There are so many questions about the Tumbler Ridge shooter. I wonder if there were an organization that was funded with nearly $1.5 billion to ask those questions and to find the answers. But instead, they just keep telling us there are questions.
One of those big questions is who did this and why, and we do not yet have the answers to either of those questions. I do want to ask you, Tanya, about the initial description offered by police in that early emergency phase of who the suspect was at that point and what they have said since.
They've said nothing since, David, and so you're right. That initial description is all we have to go on. So on that alert that was sent out publicly, it described the suspect as a woman, a female, wearing a dress with brown hair. We've heard nothing since then. All we know is that they said the suspect who was found dead was the same suspect that they did ascribe in that initial public alert. So yeah, that's the big question. And of course, this is a small town. A lot of people probably rightly do know who this was, but there's so much rumor, so much speculation, and we're looking for, of course, as you say, confirmed, credible information from authorities, and so far we have yet to hear that, so RCMP will be pressed for those answers this morning, no doubt.
And we would anticipate a news conference from them at some point today. I do want to ask about the two scenes here that investigators are now processing. One, of course, the school, but in the aftermath of the attack there, officers went to a second site, a home. They were prompted by something to go to that home and found two bodies there. Is there any indication of what prompted them to do that, whether these are connected?
So far, all they're saying is that they are connected, they believe, these two sites. But again, that's all we know. We are keen to know, and there's a lot of frustration building about what is the timeline, what is the connection. The list of questions unanswered far exceeds the list of answered questions we have. So, for example, as you mentioned, those two sites, what's the relation, what's the connection, the home, the people found dead there, to the school, the students found dead there? What's the common thread, if there is any, with all of the victims? What is the relationship, if any, with the shooter? What type of weapon specifically was used? You know, so many things we just don't know, and that police will be pressed on. The big one, of course, the motive, the why. And RCMP acknowledged last night we may never know
what could it
details
be,
around
guys?
that, but at least that is something people will need closure on as we move forward. Is why did this happen? And you know, further to that, could it have been prevented? Was there perhaps any indication that this was a possibility that could take place? Could anyone have done anything to stop it? All of those what ifs will need to be answered.
Yeah.
If only we had seen the warning flags in the front window of the school ahead of time. Maybe somebody could have done something about this.
Well, 3 years ago, Matt Walsh exposed Jesse Strang.
What?
Yeah, so maybe it was on Males of Reddit. Okay. So this is what Jesse Boy 347 wrote.
So this is an account that's attributed to the suspected shooter.
Post.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm trans, male to female, pre-HRT, 15 years old, and I've been viewing a lot of anime-related content recently. Was never into it before. The characters are always so cute. I don't want to be 2D or anything like the characters themselves, but when it comes to their body shape and stuff, I often find myself comparing their semi-unrealistic yet physically possible shape, specifically when it comes to height, BMI, and obviously their chesticles. Yeah, exactly.
This is fetishism. Anime fetishism. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm super skinny, so that sometimes makes me feel kind of good, but I'm pre-HRT and my expectations are minimal for chest growth. I'm 6 feet tall. Why can't I be petite and small? Side note, if you know of anywhere I should go to get into watching anime, that'd be nice. Never watched it before. So this was 3 years ago. From the shooter.
But what he says at the top of the message completely is like he says, I'm into anime lots. Could you give me recommends for anime? I've never watched it before. In that one post. Like what is in any case, it's revealing. It's revealing that that's what he would be into at that time. And this was 3 years ago it was exposed.
Yeah.
Oh, if only there had been warning signs.
Yeah. Guys.
If I could just jump back to that
Please.
CBC clip, because they're really bending themselves into pretzels, avoiding talking about this guy. And when you listen to that clip, that CBC presenter, she says, you know, what happened? Like, who did it? Why did this happen? Now, if you take a first-year journalism course, you're pretty much told that the first questions your journalism should answer are, you know, the 5 big ones: what, why, who, where, and how. And it seems like CBC doesn't even want to answer these questions. And like, I honestly don't understand how anybody can look at that, any person who is interested in the truth, and sees the CBC as a reliable source of information. Yeah.
Do you want to know my response to watching her give that litany of dancing around the elephant in the room? Was, instead of hustling like you did, Cosmin, instead of actually trying to get to the heart of the story, she was busy preening herself with her $600 Dyson bouncy hair curler to make it on this spot on the national news. So they spend more. Did you see all of the equipment in the background? Okay, they have all of those staff couldn't be bothered to get to the heart of the story, but you did, Cosmin. You did. So you did.
Well, the problem is also they want to be seen as the verifiers of information. They're essentially, what they're saying is like, it's not true until we say it is true.
Right.
Yes.
So that's the message they're getting across. And they do that, well, partially, well, they're trying to buy time so that they, can deal with all of these things that confirm what most of people were talking about online, what you guys have said here before about the danger that's being expressed through the transgender movements, the shift towards school shooters being trans, being involved in the trans movement, identifying as trans, but also having a presence in these online communities. As we're beginning to see this picture emerging, that there's this online ecosystem that nourishes this ideology and behavior in young disaffected people, mostly young males, right? And every society throughout history has had to deal with, what do you do about young men who have lost like all meaning in life and could potentially resort to violence. And I think that this expression of the transgender movement is being subdued because they believe they sold this narrative that expression was white nationalism, far right extremism, people with conservative conspiracy beliefs, and that's not holding up, right? The shooters we're seeing do not match that profile.
Right, as much as they try. That actually leads us into the one clip I want to show before we have to let Chris go, because I know Chris has a prior engagement.
8 minutes.
Okay, we've got to see, then you're the first to react on the other side of this. CBC journalist covering the school shooting in Tumbler Ridge can't resist saying Trump mid-coverage. And that is because they do want to frame this as, far-right radicals, and maybe it's the firearms community that's the problem, and not people being infected with this pernicious zombie virus of gender confusion and then going down a rabbit hole of perversion on Reddit. It's got to be Trump's fault. It has to be the NFA or the CCFR or anything like that. Maybe it's being a trad Catholic that's the problem, but that's not the case. That's not who's doing the school shootings, but somehow it's Trump's fault from the CBC.
In fact, everybody in the town of Tumbler Ridge and beyond is being asked to shelter in place. I'm here along with Sarah Penton in Kelowna, and Leanne Young is our reporter here at CBC Vancouver. And Leanne, you've been watching for more reaction. In fact, everybody in the town of
Tumbler Ridge.
Well, you can see who lives rent-free in her head.
Right.
Yeah.
This, Sheila, that whole thing, people blaming Trump or blaming guns or blaming Christians or blaming Catholics, it's even the trans stuff it's a symptom of something much, much deeper. I believe that as a society, we have been so manipulated into believing that we can't talk about politics or religion. We need to actually shun religion. We've gotten to the point now where people, there's two ways of thinking. There's the folks who believe that we were created by a God of distinction with intent and purpose, and our life is sacred. Those people have a much easier time finding fulfillment and getting past issues. Then there's the other side that's been taught that their existence is completely meaningless, and in some cases, they're taught that their existence is a virus on the planet, and they're responsible for all the bads. They're responsible for things that happen to the indigenous in North America. They're responsible for a flood or something like that. And I can't even imagine going through my life bombarded with those things, not having a foundation in the realization that we were created with intention by a God who loves us. And now we see all of these things coming out. The trans thing is a major symptom of that, in that people are trying to find fulfillment in places where it just doesn't exist. In that kind of ideology, in the pharmaceuticals that go along with it, in the SSRIs that are being pumped into people like they're frickin' Pez candies out of a Pez dispenser.
It looks like including to this kid, to the shooter.
And that is it is a thing, and we've given up our sovereignty over our lives as sovereign human beings created by God. and we've allowed a narrative to take over and shift that to convince people that they're meaningless. That's what the problem is. And it's you know, I hate to say it, but it's not a political solution.
No, it's not.
always been a spiritual solution. And I really think that going forward, and that this hit me like a freight train, which I know because I did get hit by a freight train. It hit me like a freight train when Charlie Kirk was murdered.
Yeah.
You know, he was speaking the truth, and he was trying to change the course of society back to a place where we believe in the foundations that allowed us to exist. And he was shot. And it got me thinking, we need to start talking about these things openly. We need to start talking about our faith. We need to start, you know, evangelizing even, and shifting the narrative from, you know, closet Christians or closet Catholics to what we're meant to do. And that is share the hope that can change these things and solve them. Until we do that, there isn't a politician that will be elected because people won't vote for them, right? We need to start being truthful and pursuing righteousness, even though it gets us fired from CBC and it gets Rotten Tomatoes thrown at us and it gets me, you know, 5 one-star reviews because I'm a dirty separatist or don't believe in trans ideology. We have to start standing up for what we believe in.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think there's a deep moral rot in this society. As I said to Chris Sims this morning, every generation of women gives their babies to Moloch, whether they know it or not. And, you know, when I'm so glad you said that, you know, there's a difference between people who understand that they were created in the image of the divine and those who don't. And, you know, when you understand that about yourself, you have a sense of specialness and sacredness. And if you don't have that, you will fill it up with weird, and weird doesn't cut it. You know, if you know that you were handcrafted by the all-knowing and all-powerful for a divine purpose that you might not even know yet, perfect the way you are. Well, not, you know, we're not perfect, but somebody made us the way we are.
Purposeful.
Purposeful, exactly. And if you don't have that, you go searching for meaning and you go searching for specialness. And a lot of these young people are confusing weird with specialness, and that takes them in a very dark place. They try to create themselves, I think, instead of being created the way they were. Okay,
That's
on
the
that dark
topic
note.
of no, that's the hey Sheila, I'm so happy we had this insightful little chat. I wrote a whole book about this for kids in Canada. Okay, it's called Buck the Rainbow Unicorn. And if you want to lead a child back to the truth, you just buy them that book and plop it in their hands, and we'll get there together, kids. But yes.
Okay,
Of course, we needed this message of hope after that.
Yes.
After that.
Cosmin,
well done, bud.
Yes, excellent work. I think we'll keep Cosmin after the break if that's okay, but I know Chris has a prior engagement, so let's do an ad break. Come back on the other side. We've got Drea getting in touch with some of the families of the kids that were inside the school that we can react to. Chris, thanks so much. Let people know where they can find you before you go.
Sure. Yeah. WhistleStopTruckStop.ca, or my Facebook is a great place to go.
Yeah.
Whistle Stop Cafe, or just my name, Christopher Scott.
Yes.
I don't even need to put a reel in front of it because I know who I am. And I do have to go, but I just want to leave with one thing.
Yeah.
People, they often they criticize conservatives or conservative leaning individuals as angry and hateful and whatever. And that is the farthest from the truth. I just want to leave with this. In situations like this, we should be reminded that there is hope for everyone. There absolutely is. If someone's watching this and they're in a situation where they're uncomfortable in their body, or they're being bombarded with ideologies that are confusing them, you were created by a God who loves you. Full stop. And if you can explore that and hold on to that rather than what the world is going to throw at you, the world hates you. The world doesn't care about you. The world doesn't even want you here, but God does, and his other children do. So, please try and take some hope in that. And I think, well, I know you'd be much better off for it.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, let's
You're welcome.
hit an ad break. We'll come back on the other side. We got about 20 minutes left in the show.
Don't settle for being on the rate of last resort if you don't have to be. Check your most recent electricity bill. If it says the words rate of last resort on it, then there are likely better options available for you. In fact, you could save hundreds of dollars per year by switching plans. Check your bill, then go to ucahelps.ca to explore your options. You will likely find a better rate and could have hundreds more in your pocket by the end of the year. A message from the Government of Alberta.
Canadians know the national anthem. They stand in silence to remember those who died for this country. But not every Canadian knows their rights and freedoms. The Freedom Passport will change that. It looks and feels like a Canadian passport, but contains the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms in a portable, easy-to-read format. The Freedom Passport. Order one for yourself and for all the freedom lovers that you love at freedompassport.ca.
You like the hat? Me too. Same strong message about making Canada great again, but in a really cool color, black and gold. There's other colors available, and it's an all-Canadian site. So if you want to signal your tribe or trigger a Liberal, go to mcgahats.ca today.
Big news, Rebel News now has premium memberships on X, Locals, and right here on YouTube. For just $4.99 a month on YouTube, you'll get loyalty badges, custom emojis, and access to members-only chats during our live streams. At $8.99 a month, you'll also unlock Rebel News Plus shows and our documentaries. But here's the catch. YouTube could cancel that premium tier at any time. That's why the best way to support us is at rebelnewsplus.com. It's just $8 a month, cheaper if you go annual, and you'll get exclusive extras like an ad-free site, comments access, and even the chance to submit op-eds. Wherever you join us, thanks for keeping our independent journalism alive and strong.
Hello everyone, Tamara Leach here with Rebel News, and I am thrilled to announce that I am heading out on tour to talk about all things Alberta independence with two of my favorite authors and journalists, Sheila Gunn Reid and Corey Morgan. We are doing 9 cities across the province of Alberta to talk about all things Alberta independence. You can expect live presentations from each of us, a panel discussion on independence, a Q&A, as well as a book signing and meet and greet following each of the events. For more information, to pick up your ticket, or to find out if we'll be coming to your community, you can visit independencetour.com. That's independencetour.com. Looking forward to getting out there and seeing all of you.
All right. Let's get back into this horrible story. Drea Humphrey, who's busy working on a project. I don't even think she's in the country, or at least she wasn't when she took this. She was able to get in touch with some families who she knew from Tumbler Ridge. They're inside the Freedom community, the Freedom Convoy community. Their children were in this school, and one of the children lost 4 friends, another hid in a closet during the mass shooter Jesse Strang's rampage. And I guess one of the children hid in a closet with mass shooter Jesse Strang's brother. So, yeah, let's listen to that.
Like we got off lucky today. My 2 kids that were in school were probably in the best part of the school to be at the time. Yeah. My one son, he's in grade 11. He's in mechanics class. Youngest daughter, her friends got shot. And I mean, they didn't really hear the shooting, and you know they heard the alarms go off, and they barricaded themselves in. Oh, yeah, they had the welding tables and everything put up against the doors and barricaded themselves in. My middle child, she, they heard something. They thought it was fireworks at first or something, and then someone came running down, hide or something, and they all scurried and hid into these storage closets in the classroom. And then my youngest, she's homeschooled, but I believe it was 5 of her friends are the ones that got shot.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Were they all together at the time?
Yep. Yeah, they were all in the library. So one of them, we're praying for her. She's in Vancouver at Sheila Hospital. I believe she's the only one that's not presumed dead. She's in major surgery right now.
So your daughter lost 4 friends today, and maybe 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Oh, how is she doing?
And she hasn't quite hit her yet.
Yeah.
She's 12. Of course, she wasn't there. She didn't see or experience it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit kind of like a movie right now. But I think once a couple days go by and people aren't there anymore, I think it's gonna really hit her. So yeah, the one friend, she's just spent all weekend with them. They were at a hockey tournament in Prince George, and yeah, it's really a sad thing.
Did you said your other son was in the wood shop area and barricaded?
Mechanics class.
Sorry,
yeah.
the mechanics class. And is it
Yeah,
true that he was hiding with the shooter's sibling?
That was, oh, you must have heard my wife in the background. It was my daughter.
Okay.
My middle daughter. She's grade 9.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, so the shooter had shot his mother, had shot one of the middle sons. His name was at home. And then went down to the high school and was looking for his other siblings, which he didn't find. But yeah, he was hiding in the same closet as my middle daughter.
Oh my God.
And how is she? How are your other kids doing?
Well, through the whole process, like they got SWAT team was there and they started pulling kids out of each classroom, and they handled that well. And then we had to all gather in the community center and we had to all check in, and we waited there for about an hour, maybe an hour and a half in total. They got us pizza and they got food and stuff, and our kids were handling it well. And then once we got home, it was reality sunk in with my daughter, and she just cried for half an hour or better.
You're the middle daughter who was hiding.
The middle daughter was hiding in the closet, yeah.
Oh.
Okay, I think that's good. This is a 6-minute clip from Drea. You can find it on her social media accounts and on rebelnews.com. But so I guess he went to the school to kill the rest of his family, and everybody else could have been a collateral victim.
It sounds as though he killed his own mother and first, and his sibling
and the other
sibling,
and then went to the school to find the other one,
like a family annihilator style. Yeah, I think that says something, and more details will emerge. But in Canada, if a mother were to witness her own child mentally spiraling, identifying by a different name or gender, but really noticing some disturbing patterns, that mother could not go to the court to ask the court to do a mental health evaluation on her child, because transgenderism to the court is not a mental illness. And I happen to know this because not a month ago, a parent told me this story. That's what happened to them. They went to the court for help to intervene on behalf of a rapidly undoing child. Okay, they had evidence of really devious, awful, evil behavior, and the judge dared them to say that transgenderism was playing a part in their child's mental break. Dared them, reminded them that that was not permitted. This is the mother had no chance. She had no chance. It's criminalized in Canada to help. Do you remember what happened at the Conservative Party convention?
Exactly.
Sheila Gunn Reid?
Yeah.
Tamara Cronus, Conservative MP for Nanaimo, Ladysmith, spoke out against a resolution that would protect parents' ability to get their children help. What does she have to say about this? I'd like to know.
Yeah, that's a great point.
It's impossible for parents to help their children in these circumstances in Canada. And this is what we got.
I think in the coming days, we're going to figure out, and I think we could probably fill in a few blanks here, but the real targets were probably the family.
Yeah.
That's where it started. I don't know.
To the La Loche shooting of 2016. 2016 it was January 2016. It was just the 10th anniversary. Yeah, a couple weeks ago. And a person, a severely mentally unstable person, shot people at home and then went to the school and continued on with the rampage. So we've learned nothing as a nation in 10 years. Learned nothing. You know what they did? They banned guns then. And you know what? It didn't prevent another thing like this from happening.
Yeah. It's almost like that's not the problem.
Almost.
Let's go. Sorry, go ahead, please, Cosmin.
Yeah, another thing. I think there needs to be a push from media, a responsible media, and even the public to get the police to release information they know about the motive, the actions of the suspect before the shooting, who he was talking to, whether he was involved in any communities.
A manifesto, as is the case with these things. Yeah.
I'd like to know
right now, unlike what we've seen at other shootings in the United States involving, trans individuals, there's been cases of letters being left behind. There's been, what we saw with the Charlie Kirk shooting. Now that, there was some connection to the trans community there with the suspect. We saw the shell casings engraved, right? And we knew his roommate saw him engraving shell casings. So right now, the police, the RCMP, controls the evidence, and journalists have quite a bit of power to get information and the ability to talk to people, but we do not have access to that evidence, the crime scene evidence. That is, bagged, tagged, and put away. And, the police raided his room. They raided the house, right? The house is a crime scene. That everything in that house can potentially lead us to understand what the motive was, who the actual targets were. Was this individual there to just cause as much harm and suffering as possible, or was he there to tactically target certain individuals? Like I said, until the police comes out with that information, and I unfortunately don't have that much hope that they will publicize that info. And I, from my understanding of how the RCMP operates, they actually take every step to protect and prevent that information from being disclosed to the public. Unfortunately, Canada is a country that doesn't have great freedom of information laws. It doesn't have great protections. Like, for example, in the States, look at body cam footage, right? Like in the States, you can get body cam footage almost right away from an arrest. In Canada,
Florida is
it's very
especially
hard.
good.
Like you have to go to court to get body cam footage. It's very hard.
Yeah, Florida is especially good. Like everybody says, like there's the whole meme around Florida man, but that's because Florida releases everything right away, including jailhouse calls. So you're just more aware of what goes on around there. And then, of course, the RCMP or the Crown will go and make sure that there are publication bans in place to protect any information from public consumption before and during the trial. I've got a post from, I think we'll do two things before we wrap the show. We'll go to Premier Eby's comments because he is still doing the progressive little dance that they do around the words that they should be using. But this is from Billboard Chris. And I think we're going to learn a lot about the alleged shooter from Reddit. This is from Reddit. A post by Jesse Boy 347, the aforementioned Jesse Boy 347 says, and this is in 2023, so October 2023.
2.5 years ago.
Yeah, I went crazy and burnt my house down my second time trying mushrooms, but still have a desire to try alternatives. What? Hi, I'm going to keep this brief. It's 4 a.m. Well, already when I see stuff like that, I'm like,
Oh, it
sounds like
red
mania.
flag. Yeah.
Mania.
Yeah.
Got out of the psych ward like a month ago, and now I'm here. I'm not schizophrenic, unlikely to be bipolar, diagnosed with ADHD, MDD, ASD, and OCD. Oh, that's a real alphabet of compulsions. I tried shrooms once. It was a small unmeasured dose and it was chill. Second time I tried it, I took 3 grams of blue meanie, ground up into some peanut butter, and had a complete break from reality and did a lot of irrational things. I felt like I was dreaming. Many consequences ensued. Oh, yeah?
Oh.
Now thinking about extreme harm reduction measures, considering restraint and low doses of DMT to test the waters in whether I remain safe or not. I feel it is the perfect choice as it doesn't last long. A sitter can for sure watch me if I am unable to escape their sight. Probably won't have the energy to anyway. I don't know, kind of high right now, just typing some stuffs. Please give input. Anything helps. I just wanted to go all out on the harm reduction for my experimenting.
Oh, yeah. Well, look at harm reduction. Did it ever win on this?
Anyways, people are like, have you considered not taking drugs and seeking professional help? And then he says, I've undergone every single procedure, treatment they have. Oh, yeah? ECT meds, all of it. The next step is ketamine if I don't stabilize on the professional end.
Holy Hannah.
Who would have seen that coming?
Anyway. And in the background, his mother was dealing with that, with a child that was devolving like that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like they had a untreated other mental illness that we're not supposed to acknowledge. So instead of dealing with that, they end up experimenting with all sorts of, honestly, coping mechanisms. And a lot of it follows the same pattern over and over and over again. End up on Reddit, get radicalized on Reddit. We've got, before we wrap the show, we've got about 4 minutes left.
Not just online though, like radicalized on Reddit and then affirmed at school. I mean, we just saw what the school stands for. Who was responsible for the transing of this child? That is what I want to know. That is what I want to know. In what is it, Tumbler Ridge? Who in Tumbler Ridge is participating in dangerous activities that led this child down this dangerous path? Because he was a child. We have to remember he was a child. He was
18.
a child.
18. Let's go to Premier EB's reaction, and then we'll get Cosmin's reaction from that one. Then we'll say bye to Cosmin and wrap up the chats.
I don't know what RCMP plans are about releasing the identity of the individual that is the suspected shooter in this incident. The RCMP will be providing that updated information as they can going forward. What they've asked for right now is patience. The community, the province, the country wants this information, needs this information to try to make sense of what happened. But I think everybody's focus right now is making sure that the families in Tumbler Ridge, the community, is looked after.
Well, if only somebody would have thought about them ahead of time. Cosmin?
Yeah. Like I said, the police is restricted in its ability to release information because of the investigation, but they're not, it's not like a law binding them. They could have released information. And part of me questions whether it's actually in their interest to hold off on releasing the information and let other people take the flack for actually identifying the shooter as trans. And I think that might be something that is at play here, because once the information is already circulated, it's made public knowledge, then the RCMP will release the information and nobody will really, care beyond the journalists who are like, oh, now we have a confirmation.
Yeah.
One of the other parts of the story that I think needs a little bit of scrutiny is the RCMP's response time, because from what I understand, so Cosmin, do you happen to know how long it took the RCMP from the time of the alert to respond to the school?
No, I don't know the exact response time. It is a small community, and the
Small
police, I
detachment.
assume, are pretty close by, and they're probably not doing much in a place like Tumbler Ridge any given day. So I expect that the local police were there. I mean, what they said is they discovered the individual deceased, so that means they were there
after the event,
after the shooting had taken place. So they were not responding during the active shooting, from what I can tell.
I think it's a small detachment too. So to respond to an active shooter event at the local high school, I think might be difficult. Again,
I mean, and also
Monday
this
morning
went up the
quarterback.
chain of command, right? This would go up the chain of command
For
almost
sure.
right away. So
Yeah.
it would be like the RCMP Pacific region headquarters that's actually involved.
Sure.
Because the jurisdiction on crimes like these are much larger than a local police force. Yeah.
Yeah, the RCMP is meant to be mobile, to be able to respond to situations like this in a certain geographic area. So, yeah, I was just wondering if we had heard anything about that yet. So thanks for clearing that up.
I did note that David Eby referred to the shooter as a gun person.
You can disregard David Eby as a serious person as of this moment.
Just a gun person, just a person with a gun. Before we let you go, Cosmin, I just want to also, like, as I said off the top of the show, congratulate you is not the right word, but applaud your hard work here and your intellectual curiosity that seems to be so missing in the mainstream media. As you said, it's you didn't do anything especially spectacular, but it is so rare these days.
But you kind of did. Yeah, you
but
kind of did, Cosmin, and we really appreciate you
we do.
Holding our hand as this story has unraveled for us throughout the country, and really look forward to seeing more of your work. Everybody, if you've ever considered supporting independent journalism, it's this guy right here, okay? He's the guy of the day.
Yeah.
Good job, Cosmin.
Cosmin, let people know where they can find the rest of your work.
Yeah, sure. So my journalism and the work of our fellow journalists gets posted to junonews.com. You could also find me on Twitter at CosminDZS, which is right there on the screen.
Great. Cosmin, thanks so much. And thanks so much for your hard work on this story.
Thank you, Sheila. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll talk soon. Okay, let's hit the chats. We've got a few of them. All right, and then we'll wrap the show because I'm late for a meeting. We've got one from Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. I think I remember his username. These crimes are almost always committed by leftist nihilists, some of whom are trans. Tennessee, Minnesota, Charlie Kirk, Columbine. Yeah, and again, it goes to we quit telling people that God exists, and if God doesn't exist, you're not created by him in his image, and so you don't have a purpose and you're not special. So you fill special up with weird, strange, and hedonism, and you try to create yourself in your own image, which is a violation of the first commandment, and that never ends well. Never. Anyway. Northern Lights I5Z, $5. So tragic. I knew it wasn't a woman. Wake up, Canada. Thank you, Cosmin. Yeah.
Thank you.
True North, Juno, the gang over there, they just really gave her on this.
Somebody needs to tell the truth. Okay, somebody needs to tell the truth. And in this moment, they are all revealing themselves. The corrupt mainstream media, the elite classes, the David Eby. What did he call him? A
gun person.
A gun person. Yeah.
I'm a gun person.
This was a mad trans-identified person.
Yeah.
And if they're not saying that to you, they're lying.
Yes, they're
Don't
lying.
tolerate
They're
this.
gaslighting you.
Well, they think you're stupid. They think you're stupid. They think that they can just tell you that a female in a dress shot up an entire school and her entire family and believe you to expect that. They think you're stupid. Don't listen to people like that. Reject them outright. People that dance around this anymore shouldn't be elected, shouldn't be tolerated. And this is, I mean,
They
this
shouldn't
is the
have their
truth coming out.
nominations signed by the leader in the next election if they don't believe that parents have a right to protect their children from going down this path.
I couldn't say it any better myself.
Hmm.
This is exactly pertinent for parental rights. Parents need to be able to advocate on behalf of their own children. They are the best witnesses. They are the best advocates. They know and love their children best. And this is what we've got to. This is where abandoning parents and families has gotten us, Canada. Here.
Parents deserve every tool to prevent this.
Every single one.
Everyone.
Without question. Yeah.
Abu Baker al-Baghdadi, gives us $5. May the Lord God comfort the families in Tumbler Ridge. May the victims rest in his eternal peace.
Thanks, buddy. Yep.
P. Schofield 10, our American friend, gives us $5 and says, what's appearing on X regarding the trans shooter? Canada's woke regime buries Tumbler Ridge trans killers' identity to shield their sacred narrative. Blood on their hands. Pathetic cowards. Yeah.
Yes.
Ableist SL gives us $5. It's alleged the suspected relative Dustin Zillistrang, who is falsely ID'd as the shooter, may have radicalized him.
Oh.
Also, this will likely be used to promote worthless extremist gun control policies. I said that in the morning meeting because the liberals and progressives will not take a moment to internalize their role in this. It couldn't possibly be them and their bad ideas. It's got to be the SKS. And so instead of doing that reflection and going through the dark night of the soul for what they've done, they will blame somebody else or something else every time. And no, it's okay. You have the super flu. And
the Davos cold.
Yeah, the Davos bug. All right. I think that's everything, Olivia. Those are all the chats. Okay. Thanks everybody for coming along with us on this horrible story today. Those of you who showed up expecting a happy, feisty Buffalo panel, I'm sorry that's not what you got, but this was the most pressing issue for us to talk about and near and dear to my best friend's heart, who wrote a book to enable parents and children to have these sorts of discussions that don't lead to radicalization and death in all of its many forms. So bucktherainbowunicorn.com if you want to get one. Lise, thanks for being here on the show today with me. Appreciate you and your unique perspective and your advocacy for parents in these dark times.
Well, it was my pleasure, Sheila Gunn Reid. And for the rest of you, I will see you next Tuesday.
Yep. Thanks to those of you who pitched in a little bit to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. Our guests, Chris, Scott, and Cosmin Dzsurdzsa over at Juno.
High props to them. High props to them. Cosmin, what an absolute beaut.
Yeah.
You got Canada. He did more work than the entire CBC combined.
Yeah.
To get the details of that story for us. Like,
after he tucked his babies into bed. They've got a gaggle of babies over there that would make you proud, Lise. And yeah, so he's doing great work. And all it takes is intellectual curiosity and perhaps a phone call. Yeah. And you Chris, can outwork the CBC.
And what Chris did, excuse me, sorry, I have to just okay. I know we're trying to go. Sorry.
It's okay.
But having Chris really bring this down to earth for us was really good too. This was a perfect Buffalo panel on a Western Wednesday, actually. It was. Talking about hard things with our besties and figuring out the world's problems.
Yes.
Perfect.
Let's wrap the show. I'm 8 minutes late to a meeting, but I'm sure they'll wait on me. Thanks to everybody who watched the show today, shared the show, engaged with the show. And Lise, we'll see you back next Tuesday. And I think I'm on the show tomorrow with my friend Tamara Ugolini. So until tomorrow, if you find us offensive, maybe don't find us at all.
Well, it's obviously a very difficult day for the nation this morning. Parents, grandparents, sisters, brothers in Tumbler Ridge will wake up without someone they love. The nation mourns with you. Canada stands by you. I want to thank and pass on a number of world leaders who've reached out directly to me in solidarity and compassion. France, United Kingdom, His Majesty himself, Norway, Finland, India, United Arab Emirates, many others. The world is with you. I have spoken to Premier Eby. Minister of Public Safety has been engaged, as have many Canadian officials over the evening. Minister of Public Safety is en route to British Columbia. He and the Premier will be visiting the community. All assistance, obviously, will be offered. We thank the first responders, the teachers, the staff, the residents, for everything that they've done in this terrible situation. On the advice of the Clerk of the Privy Council and Heritage Canada, I've asked that the flags in the Peace Tower here and across all government buildings be flown at half-mast for the next 7 days. We will get through this, we will learn from this, but right now it's a time to come together, as Canadians always do in these situations, these terrible situations, to support each other, to mourn together.